how do you set up your estate so the ex-spouse doesn't inherit? First off, you need to understand that distinction, the difference. The difference between, is this a federal mandated policy or is this a state level policy? Ideally, what you're doing right now is making sure your ex-spouse is removed as a beneficiary on everything. You got to go through every policy, life insurance policy, everything that you have put the ex-spouse on there, and remove them. Under state law, of course, if you have, or at least in Texas, not every state does this, but under Texas law, if you have removed them, then they are, or if you have a will, you have a trust or anything, they are removed. But like I said in the previous story, that doesn't mean that certain other people in that will or that trust that you've created don't have rights and can't use those rights like it did in the story that I dealt with the grandfather using his power and position to help his daughter. So I want you to be, if you're getting divorced or you are divorced and you had no will, you got to identify where that will is. Now, in this situation that I had before, this woman was very sneaky. She held on to his will and had hid it. He had totally forgot that he had signed the will. If you've signed a will before and you don't know where it is, you need to create a new one that revokes that old will. Because we do not want any attempt of that person to try to probate that will or try to use provisions of that will that might hurt you, that you do not want to happen. So redoing your estate planning is incredibly important. Should you go online and just do online wills, trusts, and everything? My advice to you is absolutely not. If you have an ex-spouse, you absolutely need to go talk to an attorney in your state and get an estate plan done. There are two main reasons I'm going to tell you why you're going to do that. Number one is documents that are drafted offline are pretty much as good as you and your knowledge in creating them. When I went to law school and I finished my first semester of wills and trusts, I left that class feeling like I knew less than when I started it. After law school, after studying for the bar, and I got my first estate planning client, it took me 15 hours to feel comfortable that I had put everything together correctly because I really wanted to make sure. And mind this, I had worked for an estate planning attorney for 2 years of my law school experience. I still learn things every month. I am coming across new knowledge and new things that affect certain situations in certain ways. The estate planning attorney, if you actually hire a good one, will save you far more money than you will ever pay them in the long run. Now, it might be when you're gone. So I can sit down with somebody and usually I can figure out, on average, if someone has assets, I know I'm going to save them, whether it's probate costs, fees, tax situations that they are just not aware of that are going to happen. I'm going to usually save up to $100,000 because I can structure things correctly. Drafting your estate planning online is the dumbest thing you can do if you have a complex situation. Yeah, if you have a simple situation, two people are married, they have one kid, you might be able to get away with it. You'll get far more value going to an attorney that knows what they're doing. But, people do their stuff all the time. They don't want to save that money. They want to save the money here and now, which is, a few $1,000s, which isn't going away. But you do whatever you think is necessary. You just need to get rid of the old documents. The second reason why you hire an attorney is you're buying an insurance policy. That attorney's name is on that document. That's an insurance policy for you that when you're gone, this is going to happen, or a judge is going to have to say that attorney doesn't know what they're talking about. My name's on all my documents. So I know if the local probate judge, if she is going to be handed that document, she knows who I am. She knows I used to send her a bunch of business when she wasn't a judge. And she'd have to go, Taylor doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, she referred clients to me for years. So that means she's going to have to say that she was kind of foolish in referring me business, that I didn't know what I was talking about. So key here is it's an insurance policy that you're buying. I want you to think of it this way. I had a client come in one time and she was an underwriter for home insurance. So I explained it to her. She's like, man, your fee's kind of high. And I said, well, my fee to do your estate planning, because you have complex stuff, you have a lot of issues. I showed her how I was going to save money, and she was like, great. She was all sold at that point, but I wanted to really sell her. And I go, you're an underwriter, right? She goes, yeah. I go, how much is the value of your house? And she goes, well, my house is about $500,000. And I go, well, how much do you pay per month to insure that property? And she goes, well, it's about $350 a month to insure my home. I go, okay. On this home that you own, is it paid off? No. I'm like, well, how much equity do you have? Well, $50,000. Okay. So for $50,000, you spend almost $4,000 a year, not one time, a year, to ensure that if something happens, that $50,000, well, of course, the mortgage company will be covered too. Not your whole estate, just your home. You're willing to spend that every single year. I asked one time, hers was going to be $4,500 to do her estate plan and her trust and all of her documents and a standalone retirement trust, a bunch of things we had to do. $4,500 one time. I said, on this, I'm going to save you $100,000 because we structured it this way. On this, you're just buying this insurance policy that if something happens to you, your kids are going to be taken care of and things aren't going to happen to them. So, of course, it's almost stupidity not to do it. All right. Well, I've talked about the direct ways ex-spouses can inherit from you. What are the indirect ways? Well, control of property is just as much as important as the property itself. So a lot of times the control of the property ends up in the hands of ex-spouse's family because you've created documents and you've put them in charge, like in the example that I shared. Dad controlled the property. Every time that my client needed money until we were able to get him removed, we had to go to court. I had to show that he was biased, that it was not working. So it became a very difficult process. The other thing is, you pass away and you have minor children. They don't get the property even if you've done nothing. It will go to the court. Now they have your money and they control it. And of course, when kids are minors, are they using that money, your ex-spouse, for the kids usually? No, they're using it for themselves. They use it to finance things for themselves. They want to go on a vacation. They want to take their new girlfriend out to on a Disney cruise with your kids. Well, they're going to try to get the trust of the kids that you left to them to pay for that. Indirectly, they inherit the property. So this is my suggestion for you. Take this seriously, contact an attorney and get this done, and learn that an estate planning attorney really can offer you an exceptional value. Good estate planning attorneys make you more money than you will ever pay them. I promise you that. And if you want more content, you want to learn more about estate planning, probate, different ideas that are out there, things that you can do to save on taxes, just keep following me. I'll send it to you.